And we're coming in hot. The official start to summer is around the corner. And with that, the injury bug is seeing its way out, with Strasburg making his return last night, along with reports that Scherzer is throwing bullpens already. And Tatis was on the field earlier this week. So, Keith, I'm going to start with you. Which player on the IL will make the biggest impact when they return?
I'm biased. I love Nando, Tatis. I just want him to get back to doing what he does. He's a highlight reel every game. The game has been missing him. Come on back, Tatis Jr. We want to see it, 23. I'm pumped for him.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It has to be Tatis. And, it's not just about replacing an 81 WRC plus Young Kim on the field. For me, it's also about the team context, right? So, obviously, we also have Scherzer coming back. We're going to have DeGrom coming back at some point. But the Mets are doing just fine without them. They're 6.5 games up on the Braves, even without those two players. But I feel like the Padres just 2 games behind the Dodgers. Tatis could put them over the top.
Clean sweep. Fernando Tatis Jr. And look, it's because the Padres are trying to chase down the Dodgers right now. They're not that far behind. Manny Machado has got to be going, guys, I need some help. Right. Something. Give me anything offensively. This guy's been, he's been phenomenal all year. He needs a guy like Fernando back in that lineup, behind him, in front of him, wherever it is, just to try to generate some more runs, have somebody else who is consistent in that lineup, can put up some runs. That staff has been awesome. And the fact that they are where they are says so much about that team. And I think it was earlier this week or last week, I don't remember, I picked the Padres to catch the Dodgers by July 4th.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I look at the schedules and maybe Tatis coming back, and I just think they have some magic on, and Bob Melvin there as manager. Not saying they'll hold on to it the rest of the way, but I was banking on him coming back, and yeah, he's important for me and for the Padres.
Okay, I'm going to disrupt the sweep and be the outlier here. And my initial gut was of course, El Nino, Tatis. But upon further inspection, Max Scherzer. So check this out. The Mets are 13-7 since May 19th. He was hurt on May 18th. The Mets starters had a 3.23 ERA from opening day to the day that Scherzer was injured. Now starters have a 5.28 ERA since he was hurt. That's a 24th in baseball. So obviously the combination of him and DeGrom returning, obviously DeGrom
and Tyler McGill.
Yes, and McGill, I think will be the biggest impact because 114 is the magic number there, the number of days that the Mets led that division last season. So Mets fans still waiting for that other shoe to drop. All right, MLG Red and Off Base starts right now. Friday, my friends, and welcome to this edition of Off Base. K-Mac and myself in Studio X and Hannah are out, but not to worry. We have brought in the best pinch hitters in the show, Ellen Adair and Anthony RECKER, to get the job done. Guys, how are you? By the way, this jacket is fuego.
Thank you. Thank you. This is my celebration for the, 7-game winning streak of the Phillies in the undefeated Rob Thompson era.
What is up with Rob Thompson?
Maybe we'll get into it later.
Yes, we might. Reck, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, and it's nice to be thought of as a solid go-to pinch hit type guy for once in my life. So that's good.
I think you're a better pinch hitter than I am. I think we can safely say that.
I beg to differ.
You didn't actually play in Major League Baseball, though, so, I kind of, and I only mean that in the sense that nothing against you, just more against me, that I was there and nobody still wanted to use me.
Or for you, redemption for the Reck.
I guess that's what it is.
He's feeling good. K-Mac, you're speaking to the kids earlier.
Yeah, man. Just came from WFAN talking to the Youth Urban League. Drove over here as fast as I could. Off base. Let's do it. It's Friday. Let's run through the tape. Good to have you guys on with us.
Yeah, we're happy to have you guys. All right, let's check out what's been moving the needle, starting on the south side, where the Sox dropped to 5 games back of the Twins in a loss to the Dodgers, where they blew a 4-run lead in the 6th, thanks in part to this head-scratcher where I guess Tony La Russa intentionally walked Trea Turner with 2 outs on a 1-2 count. After which Max Muncy proceeded to hit a 3-run shot to give the Dodgers a 5-run lead. They went on to lose, and this is what the skipper had to say about the move.
So let me ask you a question. Is there some question about whether that was a good move or not?
I guess at 1-2 is the question at the count.
Do you know what he hits against left-hand pitching with 1-0-1 or 2 strikes? Do you know what he hits? Well, do you know what Muncy hits with 2 strikes against a left-hand pitcher? I mean, is that really a question? Because it was 1 and 2? Turner was a strike left against a left-hander is not something you can avoid if you can. And we had an open base, and Muncy happened to be the guy behind him, and that's a better matchup. Here again, somebody disagrees. That's the beauty of this game. Welcome to it. I mean, does anybody in this room really think that Turner should have, even with the count, we should have gone to Turner? I would say that's no chance. Muncy's the guy to get out of the inning. We dismissed him.
I mean, clearly most people in that room thought that Turner should not have been walked in that situation. Ellen, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, La Russa said that it wasn't a tough call, and he was absolutely right. It wasn't a tough call. Of course you don't walk a batter with 2 strikes. It's bananas. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's crazy town banana pants, because batters are striking out at a 42.5% rate with 2 strikes. Like, you have a nearly 50% chance that the batter is going to strike out with 2 strikes. And of course, Muncy also has reverse splits and is actually better against lefties. I was very interested in this fact per Ben Clemens of Fangraphs. The last times that a couple of batters were walked with 2 strikes, the Rockies walked Corey Seager on 1-2 count to face Chris Taylor after a runner on first had stolen second. And the Twins also walked Mike Trout after an 0-2 wild pitch to face Justin Upton. But in both of those scenarios, Taylor and Upton then hit for extra bases. So I feel like I don't know. I mean, this gets into the psychology of things a little bit. I've been talking about the numbers. I think the numbers back me up. But I think also the psychology of the guy on deck who he knows that the batter before him had 2 strikes and then gets intentionally walked is really going up there with some fuego, to steal your word from earlier.
That is a huge slight. I mean, what kind of chip on your shoulder would you have going into that situation if you were Max Muncy?
Yeah, I would be infuriated, and oftentimes that can help you focus. It gets you locked in, especially a guy like Max Muncy, who's been having a tough year, obviously, comes back off the IL. And what bothers me about the statistics that Tony La Russa, decided to throw out there, and he's not wrong. The statistics he used, Trea Turner against lefties over the last few years, look, he's been great, even in 2 strike counts. So this year included. You look at Max Muncy this year, hasn't been good. But there's things that they talk about behind closed doors, the analytics department, they talk about recency bias. Well, not all those numbers, especially Muncy this year, are necessarily, they don't all matter. Like, you talked about Muncy in his career, he actually has better numbers against left-handed batters. So you could say all you want about what he's doing this year. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right move. You've got 2 strikes on a guy, and you have a pitcher on the mound that you put out there, Bennett Sousa, who is a left-handed pitcher. I get it. He came in to face 8-9-1. Now he's, getting to the lefty and Freeman. Freeman gets a base hit, run scores. The 2 lefties, by the way, that he had faced prior to facing Muncy both got hits. The 2 righties he had gotten out. 1-2 count on Turner. If you are really that worried about it, at least let him try to throw 3 balls himself and see if he gets a swing and miss. See if something happens. To put somebody on like that, it just doesn't make baseball sense. Then you can look at Bennett Sousa. His numbers. Now, this would be a small sample size bias. I get it, but he hasn't been up that long. But he's given up, even before that hit to Muncy, he was giving up hits, an average to lefties of 300. He wasn't getting lefties out, even though he's a left-handed pitcher. So the numbers don't back up everything Tony La Russa was saying. Then you put into context the fact that there is some recency bias, even in the numbers that he did say. I really don't get it. Have trust in your pitcher. That's why you put him out there. He went out in that situation. He had just thrown the day before. I get it, but have some trust in him. Let him go for the out. He already got 2 righties out.
How are you feeling if you're Sousa?
Terrible. That's another part of this.
My guy doesn't believe in me.
You talked about, like the mindset of Max Muncy going up there. What about your pitcher thinking, I got 2 strikes in this guy. Let me attack him. Now you're putting him on base, and I'm facing the next hitter going in my head thinking, was I not good enough to get that hitter out? Like, I had 2 strikes. I could have wasted 3 pitches. Tell me that. Say, waste a fastball up, throw 2 sliders down in his ankles. See what happens. That's fine. I can do that. So, yeah, you really mess with a guy's mindset out there on the mound, and that can lead to what we saw, Muncy, 3-run homer.
Whatever Sousa's splits are versus righties and lefties, I have to bet that they're better against righties with 2 strikes than lefties.
Absolutely.
Tony. I mean, come on. You guys all know this is ridiculous. This was a sobering mistake, Tony. Why would you double down on
Good
this?
word usage.
Why would you double down on this? Right? Obviously, it was the wrong move. That ended up being the difference in the game. Trea Turner, yeah, he was hot. He had a hitting streak. He's not Barry Bonds. And if you're going to intentionally walk him on 4 pitches.
Yeah.
I hope this gets Max Muncy going. I hope this is the thing that gets him going.
Oh,
absolutely.
he was fired up in that
You could see it
post-game
happening.
interview. And they also, by the way, the White Sox had a 4-0 lead going into the 6th.
This-
That 3-run bomb made it a 10-5 game. They
This is
went on to
ridiculous.
lose. Yeah.
Well, he knows his job is secure, so he can do stuff like this. Jerry said, hey, that's my guy. I fired him once. He's not going to fire him twice.
That's the other thing. This was
Craziness.
a 6-5 game at the point that he put Souza in the game. So obviously you have some trust in this pitcher, and I really don't understand the idea of walking Turner at that point. The message it sends to that whole clubhouse and that pitcher, it's not good.
It feels more like a culture thing than anything. Yeah.
I know that Reinsdorf has said what he said, but I still have to wonder if the sort of public ridicule gets large enough. Is there a moment when he's like, yeah, this is too much, you know? Or is there a moment where Rick Hahn is like, this is too much for me, you know what I mean? Like, my reputation is on the line as the general manager.
After they miss the postseason, in the offseason, they'll mutually part ways.
I think it
Always
could come
works that
sooner.
way.
Look, we saw in the post-game presser Tony kind of get a little bit defensive and start asking the reporter questions. We saw that a couple days ago with Joe Madden. That didn't go so well. I really think there has to be a little bit more fire under that seat right now, especially with the way this team has performed. The fact that they didn't get past the first round last year of the playoffs, and they were expected to, and now this year, you come in, this team had lofty expectations. I get it, they've had some injury problems, obviously a lot of underperformance, but how much of that does fall on the manager? I'm not saying it's all his fault, but look, there's something going on in that clubhouse that they're not performing to their potential. At some point, you got to start looking at that, man.
The Twins have been in the driver's seat since April 24th, if that tells you anything. So, yeah, we'll see what happens as the soap opera continues.